Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Making Sales Social Live. I'm Bob Woods from Social Sales Link, and with me today, as always, is Bryn Tillman, your LinkedIn Whisperer. How are you doing today, Bryn?
I'm great, Bob. How are you?
I am doing well, which, considering the past couple of weeks, is actually a really good thing today. In that vein, and because I sound and feel really good, I want to talk about something that a lot of people, I don't know if they don't use it because they don't like it or if they're not aware of it, but I think that a lot of salespeople should be using this. So, as part of your sales prospecting activity and your efforts to fill the top of the funnel, just like all of us out there, do you use things like meetings, online workshops, webinars, or other forms of group get-togethers, either live or virtual, or a mix of both? First of all, if you don't, you probably should. Second, LinkedIn gives you a great way to promote events so that you can attract prospects to these sessions. And it's called, drum roll please, I don't even know if you can hear that, LinkedIn events. Today, we're going to be discussing how they work and why you should be using this feature to fill that top of funnel with prospects who are qualified and excited to talk to you because you are the subject matter expert in your field and they should want to talk to you about that. So, first of all, let's talk just a little bit about mechanics of the thing. So, how do you actually create an event in LinkedIn?
Yeah, well, creating the event, there's some preparation that you want to do, of course.
Mhm.
It's very simple to do. When you're on your home page, you're just going to click, you scroll down to the left-hand side and you'll see events, and then there's a little plus sign, and voila, an event form will open up. And we want to make sure, number one, that you've got a good visual, like a thumbnail or cover image. And that typically is a 16:9 ratio. So it's different than all the other images that we use. We recommend hopping into either Canva or even using a PowerPoint slide is a good way to do that.
Yep.
You get to choose if you're the organizer as you, the person, or as the page. And later on, we'll talk about the benefits of the page versus the person.
The
You're
company
then
page. Yeah.
yeah. Company page. Yeah, but you know what? They're not even called company pages. It's
I
LinkedIn
know.
pages
I
now.
know.
It's so
But, I always feel the need to say that because a lot of people aren't clued in,
agreed.
because it's so strange that when people talk about pages, it's actually a company's page and it's just LinkedIn weirdness. But anyhow,
Yeah, totally agree with you on that one. So you can create an event, whether you can choose yourself or a page that you manage. There are differences in the event. So we're going to just talk about choose you as the human being. And then you're going to decide, is this an online event or is this a physical event? Because you can actually, initially, you couldn't, when events rolled out, there wasn't even an online option, which
yep.
was a little frustrating for people. So physical events, you can actually, put a link to a registration page, an Eventbrite page, or wherever that might be. But you can have actually external events and online events. Now, every time we do a LinkedIn Live, an event is automatically created. And you can actually watch the live, and you're probably, for those folks that are here live right now, are probably either watching it on the event or it live streams in my banner on LinkedIn. But you're going to make that choice in creating the event. If you're doing a LinkedIn Live, you do need a third party. You can't create a live here.
Right.
You're going to name it, your time zone, your the date and time and all that fun stuff, your description, and you can add speakers. Now, once you've added add speakers, so you can go back and edit the speakers as well. But it now goes in as an event. An event is created and it's now in your news feed for people to see. But there
Yep.
are ways to market it, right? So, what are some ways, Bob, that you recommend people market their event?
The easiest way, or I mean, yeah, the simplest way to do it is when you create the event, you can actually just market it in your own feed. So,
Mhm.
that's it's probably the easiest and the best way to do it. So that it starts gaining traction and hopefully people will go, oh, not only do
Mhm.
I think this is important, or I think this is interesting, maybe I'll clue a couple of other people who I know into it as well. So that's probably the easiest and the best way is to further utilize LinkedIn, and just the reach of the network to really
Yeah.
bolster those numbers there.
The other thing that you could do is you can invite up to 1,000 people a week.
Yep.
And by the way, your attendees can invite people as well.
Yep.
So, one of the best ways, if you want to create an event a couple of weeks out, and you could invite up to 2,000 people, but you can get your attendees to invite folks as well. The other thing is, and we tested this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe, and we sent it to our email list, and we had hundreds and hundreds of people say they're going to attend. Now, we just got a question that's going to go right into kind of the next piece of advice. So Judith asks, how to tackle the problem that people you invite don't read the event. They say they're going to attend, but do not register on the actual registration page. So there could be some manual labor around that. There is, if it's an online event, it's pretty simple that they can add it right to their calendar, and we may not need to register. So I'm going to actually add what we're going to talk about at the end. I'm going to just fit in here for a moment, which
Mhm.
is, if you create the page, you create the event as a company page, as a LinkedIn page, you can actually have the option of a registration link that you can then export all of your registrants. So that is an option. The other piece is to reach out to them. Both you and all the attendees can see everyone and message everyone, by the way, even if they're a second degree connection. We'll talk about how to
Mhm.
leverage that
That's
in a little
important.
while. But as the event creator, you can go in and message them. Thanks for your interest. Here's the link to register. And I know it's a two-step process. And it can be frustrating, but that's kind of what we've got right now. We did have someone request that we share our screen. This is our LinkedIn Live that goes into our podcast. So we don't do screen sharing in this. However, in our group coaching, we do lots of screen sharing. So if you are interested in that, if you go to socialsaleslink.com/events, I believe there is an upcoming coaching event where you can join, ask your questions, and should we show our screen? So Judith has another question here that says, go through networking and messaging them to register. Yes,
Yes. Yep.
yeah, that's
That's a
exactly
great
right.
way to do it. And then that actually builds credibility for you because if other people are recommending you, then it's like, oh well if Brent thinks this is something good that I should go to, maybe I should actually go to it. So yeah, that's great there.
Now, there's another thing here. You have the message which is created when you add an event is not shown very well to your audience. Although I don't want it too long, you can actually add a registration link in your cover picture, in your image,
Yep.
right? So you might use that image in a way that it might say, click that you're attending and visit X to register, and just put
To
that right in
register.
the cover. And then I would do either a bit.ly link or just a short link that helps people get there. So that would be one of the ways. So marketing the event, that would be one of the ways to do what Judith is doing. But marketing in the event, we can invite up to 1,000 people. We can ask some of the attendees to invite some of their people. Now, if we get, depending on how much work you want to put into this, if we get a connection that is, an influencer of sorts, that's a first degree, we can actually go look at their connections and say, hey, Jane, thanks so much for clicking attend. You're connected to 9 people that I would love to come to this event. Would you be open to inviting them? If so, I can send you their names and the steps. And then you can get your attendees to invite targeted people that you're looking to attend to some of those events.
Yep,
Um,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So now we delved into this a little bit, but leveraging other people's events is the next thing that people may not necessarily think of, but it's another great way to, it kind of spins back into marketing your event by leveraging other people's events.
Yeah, well, this is a totally different animal that I'm really excited about because we have the opportunity, number one, to find events. So we can go into that LinkedIn search on LinkedIn, hit enter, and about 5 or 6 in, events is one of the filters. And then it's going to give you a whole bunch of events. And then you can put in keywords. So I want to see events on marketing. I want to see events on leadership.
Mhm.
Now, what I want you to do is I want you to find events, not that you're interested in necessarily, but that your buyer would be attending. Right. So if you sell to um, CIOs, CTOs, right? What are the events that they'd be interested in? Maybe cybersecurity events, right? So think about now, once you click attend, you can now message all of the other attendees. Now, this is not an opportunity to spam, but this is an opportunity. It's like, right, there's a keynote event happening and we're in the audience and all of these other people are hanging around ready to go sit down in the theater to this event, and we make small talk first. Now, I know
Mhm.
people are like, well, I don't have time for small talk. I'm prospecting, but these are people. Like these are human beings, right? We need to connect and build rapport and be a resource and be a value to ultimately get them to want to have a conversation with us, right? So here we are, we're in this event with all these attendees. How do we start a conversation with them? Well, let's look at who the speaker is. Let's say the speaker is Bob Woods and we have 75 people that are going to be attending to see Bob Woods. And I want to start a conversation with them, but I don't know any of them. But because we're both in the event, we can message each other. They have to accept the message, by the way. It looks a little bit different than a typical message, but it will say, because you're both attending this event. So it's like you walk up to someone in the lobby when you go into the main event. How I would start this conversation is I would say, I wanted to reach out and introduce myself. I noticed that we're both attending this event that Bob Woods is putting on. I'm curious, did you hear him on the podcast a couple weeks ago on topic? It was awesome. Let me know if you're interested. I'd be happy to share a link. Now we're talking about the keynote. Yeah. So did you want to add to that, Bob?
Yeah, no, I just because our very good friend Jack Hubbard has a little proof of performance for us. So just in terms of what we talk about in general and how successful it is. So he says when when Bridden did a webinar, say that 3 times fast, for our banking clients, we had more than 1,800 people register on the events page. And then Jack says that he messaged each one of them and reached out to connect with them. This worked really well.
Yeah, and that was a great webinar, Jack. We should do another one. That would be awesome. Yeah. But this stuff really works, but there's no easy button.
Right.
Everyone is like, well, they're hoping that this is 100% a marketing play, but this is a hybrid of marketing and sales. It's not an
Set and
inbound.
forget.
It's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah, it's
set and
not set
forget.
and forget.
It's
Yep.
not an inbound opportunity. However, there's huge opportunities in LinkedIn events if
Yeah.
we leverage them the right way. And what I would ask is anyone that's listening, whether you're here live or you're listening on the podcast, if you create an event, invite me. I'd love to come.
Me too,
Yeah,
me
Bob,
too, me too, me
love to.
too.
Particularly if it's
Absolutely.
online or in the New York,
Yeah,
Philadelphia
yeah,
area. For
yeah,
me,
yeah. If
Kentucky,
it's in person, that might be a little bit of a difficulty, but yeah,
Kentucky,
definitely online.
Ohio. All for
Yeah,
Bob. We cover
that's
Kentucky and
true.
Ohio.
Yeah,
I cover.
Kentucky, Ohio, I can get to Indiana, Tennessee, West Virginia, Illinois.
So
So
we
anyhow,
travel.
let's so we touched on this a little bit earlier, but there is a difference between doing an event via your own personal page
Mhm.
persona or whatever you want to say, and a LinkedIn company page, which is called LinkedIn Pages, as we said before, but a company
Mhm.
page. So Bren, why don't you go ahead?
Well, I mean, there are those significant differences. Some of them are when you invite someone to the event, if if I'm the speaker, I could invite as me. The
Right,
biggest difference, the biggest difference is the brand and um potentially and the registration page, right? That's the biggest difference. Now, couple of things. They don't see the event details until they register. So if you decide to go in the route of I'm going to have the event as my page and I want the registration, you could lose people, right? Because they might click through and say, I don't want to, although it will auto populate in most cases their contact information. A lot of people are like, I don't want to give you that information. The benefit is you can just download that. When we did the webinar event, we did it before that registration was a feature. And literally, we had our team pull every name and URL for LinkedIn to give to
yeah.
Jack, right? It was a lot more work. But now, if you did it as a company page and you downloaded it, it would be a lot easier. But either way, we put in the work and it paid off in spades for sure. Um, so we live now. Wait, we are
We are
live now.
live
Great
now.
insights. Live live. Yeah, the English language so hard. Can you do events on ProFinder of LinkedIn? Yeah, that's our next week live. We're going to talk about. Wait, we might have done it. ProFinder is now providing services. Did we do that last
Right.
week, or are we doing
Do
that
we?
next week? I can't
Oh
remember.
my
It's on the
goodness.
list. We may have
I
done
can't
it.
either. It's definitely on the list. Either we've done it or we're about to do it because
No, we
providing
did it
services
last
is
week.
big.
We did it
Yeah,
last
we
week.
did. We did. So, yeah, so
So
that'll
go
be coming
back
out
into our
in podcast form.
Yeah. So go back. Actually, if you message me, I'll get you a link. It's also on our YouTube channel. Yep, we did it last week. I'm
Yeah,
so glad
that's right.
because we train
We
all
talk
the
about
time.
so much. We talk
So
about so much.
I know, and we train all the time. So sometimes I'm like, did we do it in a podcast or did we do it in our group coaching?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we did it in both. So which is better,
Mhm.
make an event on your personal page or the company page, and why? So that it's really a personal decision based on the pros and cons. What I would say, if you guys go to socialsaleslink.com/events and scroll down to be a guest at coaching, come in to a guest coaching, ask your questions. We'll ask you and we'll determine what makes the most sense for you, particularly. But there are pros and cons to both. So, yes, there's a recording and it will be our podcast. So just reach out to me directly and I'll make sure that I get that to you. So I think we are just around our wrap up time.
Yeah, yeah, we are. So there is a recording. If you're on LinkedIn right now, the URL that you're on will eventually convert this into a recorded version.
Mhm.
So just save this URL, and it only takes a couple minutes. So it's so just save this URL and you can get to the recorded version from there, as well as obviously listening to the podcast when this comes out in a couple of weeks. So thank you for that question, Syed.
I'm
Syed.
actually putting our YouTube link in chat.
So
So
that
for
went to YouTube only though, because we can't message directly in LinkedIn.
Okay. So
So
our
limits of
YouTube,
technology, you
yeah.
can't do everything you want,
So
unfortunately.
our YouTube channel, just
Yeah,
look
just
up
search up
social.
Social Sales Link YouTube. It comes
Yeah,
up in Google.
yeah, perfect.
Yep.
And also look at our podcasts or listen at socialsaleslink.com/podcast.
Yep. Yeah, we got
Which you
them
were
all
gonna
there too.
say, and you're ending there anyway. So I'll let you.
That's okay because I'm just going to say it again because I'm not sure if this part is actually going to make it into the podcast once we get done editing it. So, because we do edit things a little bit. So, with that, let's take them to town. So, thanks again for joining us on Making Sales Social Live. If you're with us live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter right now, because we go everywhere, we do this every week. So, keep an eye out for our live sessions. Now, if you're listening to us on our podcast and you haven't subscribed or already, hit that subscribe or follow button so that you can see all of our previous shows. If you want more info, as Brent said before, socialsaleslink.com/podcast. Socialsaleslink.com/podcast. We actually do 2 shows a week. This one and our Making Sales Social interview series, where we talk with leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, and many, many more different areas to help you with your sales. So, speaking of, when you're out and about, be sure to make your sales
Social.
exactly. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate all of the questions, all of the interest. It's fantastic. We love them. Thanks, everybody.